Thank you for tuning in to Ungentrified with Kent Johnson. Ungentrified takes an unfiltered view on pop culture, music, television and film, politics, current events, and topics central to the worldwide Black community. Ungentrified is a safe audio space for celebrating Black culture in its purest form. Thank you for joining another episode of Ungentrified. This is, of course, your host, Kent Johnson, and I have a good friend with me today. I am still coming to you live from Perrin. I've been here for what seems like forever now.
Yeah, like a week and a half, 2 weeks at least.
Yeah, but it's only been a week. Today makes it a week.
Okay.
I'm going back home tomorrow. Well, going back to the States tomorrow. And then I'll be in New York for a couple of days. And then
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. No, it is. I'm let me fall back on that. It is very nice. And then I'll be heading back home to my bed in Atlanta for an extended period of time, I think. But we'll see if that happens. But let's go ahead and get into what's been going on recently. And for us, that has been Afropunk. And Afropunk was one of the many things that went on.
I mean, so many things have been going on. So I guess Afropunk was the first thing.
Yes.
So that is where we can start.
Yeah.
Afropunk.
Yeah, Afropunk was the reason why I'm here, and the reason why we're here right now.
Right, we're here, yes.
Yes, because we worked on a really dope project this weekend.
We did. I was very excited to do it, too.
Yes.
It was fun. It worked out well.
Yes.
I was nervous at first because you never know how things are going to go when it's new. But no, it was good.
Yeah, it went. It really went. And we brought people from all over the world together to walk the city and drink some wine.
And what is better to do in Paris than walk the city and then drink wine?
Right.
It's like a little reward at the end of your long journey.
That's what we learned. It's better to do the walk first and then the wine instead of the wine and the walk.
It depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, it depends on who you talk to.
Because some people who did the walk first, when they came for the wine, they were just like, couldn't say much and weren't that interactive because they were worn out. Mm-hmm. But, a couple of glasses of wine and they perked up. But at first, it was a little... The first group who just drank wine came and drank wine. They were like completely lit from the beginning.
Because they was ready.
They were ready. They were like, oh, you got wine? Okay, let's go. I'm like, all right, well, you guys better... All right, thumbs up. So, but both groups were good. Yeah. Well, all the groups were good. Yeah,
no, I was excited. It really, I mean, you have an idea of how something's going to work out, but it really went above and beyond that. And then we got to celebrate and actually go to Afropunk. And it was SZA on Saturday, but you didn't see SZA because you were seeing...
Because I saw Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Yes. How was that concert?
That concert was amazing. So it was my first on the run. The other girls I went with, they went to the other one, and they have been at Beyonce and Jay-Z concerts before. Okay. This was my... I've been to Beyonce's concert, and actually the first Beyonce concert I went to was here in Paris. I went to Formation. I think was that last year or the year before last?
Yeah.
Whenever that was, I went to that. And so to go to this one, it was kind of dope to see them together. So I really liked it. I liked their the costumes and their designs and how it went together. I like their transitions, how they would perform together, and then one would kind of fade off, the other one kind of come in, and then how they started it together and ended it together. It was just, and then how it wasn't like these hard transitions between their songs. It just all kind of flowed together. Okay. Then they had these videos in the background, these like movie shots and all that stuff.
So it's worth going to see. Yeah. I've seen Jay in concert twice. I saw him, wow, I'm about to age myself, during the Hard Knock Life tour. Way back when. And then I saw him and Kanye for the Watch the Throne tour. Okay. I've never been to a Beyonce concert. I feel like it's a requirement for
life.
Yeah. So
well, I just met the requirement recently.
Hey, look, you've extended your your black card for 6 more months.
But I'm weird with concerts anyway. I'm not a big concert goer.
Really?
Like buying tickets, going to concerts. Like, I mean, I've seen shows here and there, but I'm not one that's like, oh my God, I gotta be on Ticketmaster. I gotta get these tickets. Like, they come out at $9.50. Okay, I gotta be online at $9.40 and just be sitting ready. That's...
Yeah. I'll do, I mean, I've done stadium concerts before, but I like the smaller, more intimate venue.
Yeah,
like, I've been at a concert, and it was one of my favorite artists, and there were 6 other people there, but I had the best time because they performed the entire album. Yeah. But yeah, so I would lean towards a smaller concert as the one I would go to, but I love going to shows. I mean, where else are you going to get to yell the song out with?
And I'll say I go to small shows here, like at jazz clubs or like little smaller venues with people I've never heard of and be like, oh, wow, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. And like, I think the person we both saw on Sunday, Maxwell, I think it was perfect to have him in that kind of environment where it wasn't like a major space. Yeah. Because I was actually able to get up really close and get some good shots in of him too during that. But he put on an amazing show. I
only saw a small portion of that because I was worn out by then. He started at 11:30. I was like, okay, sir.
Yeah, since I'm still on Eastern Standard Time, I was wide awake. But that was the first time I seen him, and now I know what everybody's been talking about with that show.
I've seen him in concert before. When I was in DC, I saw him in concert. It was him and I want to say Jill Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Jill a couple of times. She puts on a good show.
But no, it was good. Yeah. And then the other big event here, World Cup.
Yeah.
World Cup shenanigans.
Tomfoolery, shenanigans, debauchery. We were both in the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It was lit. This whole block was bananas. And you watched it.
I watched it at Afropunk. So it was out in La Villette. And then left out of there because I was like, I need to see what's happening in these streets. So, just kind of saw some of the stuff going on in the streets and then came back in. But it was cool to watch it with the 200 other people that were there watching it. And then to see everybody excited and jumping up and down and going crazy. Like, that was amazing. And then even when I finally left there, like 5 hours later, people still in the streets, honking their horns, waving the flag, running around. It's no words to describe it. It's no words.
Yeah. It was absolutely perfect to be here at that time. And I feel like I've been kind of, following the World Cup, but in the sense of I was in Colombia 2 weeks before I got here when they were still in the running. So I got to watch their experience with the World Cup and when it ended. And then to come here and watch, when it ended for France, which
ended in a grand success.
Right. Someone told me that I need to buy a bottle of 2018 champagne while I'm here because it's now like a collector's item. Because apparently they did it for 98 when it happened. And like people just bought bottles of 98 champagne when they won. So she was like, no, buy one, just keep it with you. And the next time we win...
Champagne would be a little tough. We'll get into the wine talk now. We'll see if the 2018 was a vintage. So maybe just if you got a 2018 wine in general, you could do that. But 2018 champagne. And it wouldn't be out yet because they don't harvest till the fall. So that would be the 2018. So you would get it next year.
Gotcha. Okay, so I just bought a 2018 Fanta Orange, and I hope
does it say 2018? Does it have the vintage date on it?
It's on their Best Buy. Okay, and it says.
Well, he even get the commemorative Coca-Colas. They have the Coca-Colas that have Merci le Bleu, and then you can get that.
Oh, okay, all right. So I gotta get some. Well, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get it back to the States because I'm not checking my bag.
I don't know what to do because that is bigger than a Ziploc. It's bigger than a quart.
All right, so you guys are probably wondering who I've been talking to for the last couple of minutes.
Random person that just keeps chiming in.
And I'll let her introduce herself. Why don't you tell the people who you are?
Hi, I'm Tanisha Townsend, Girl Meets Glass.
That is, I think it might be the most succinct introduction.
I never know what to say when people ask me that. I'm like, well, what do you want to know? Introduce? Do I need to add letters? Do I need to say where I live, what I'm doing?
Oh, well, no, because, we're going to get into all of that anyway. Okay. So that's enough to get us rolling.
Right. It's a teaser.
Right. It's a shot. It's a sip. So, Tanisha, the one thing that I ask everybody that comes on the show is what's on their radar at the moment. And it could be what book you're reading, what wine you are currently drinking, what album you're currently streaming, what Netflix rabbit hole you've fallen into. What is your favorite thing right now?
So, a couple of things. The Netflix rabbit hole I've fallen into is comedians in cars getting coffee. And so, have watched through almost all of the new season, which this is something that's actually new. It's not something that's old that I thought was new, but everybody in America has already seen it. But no, this is actually new. And what I'm drinking, I am drinking a lot of champagne. Because I do champagne tours, and I have been to Champagne, about 3 times in the past 10 days.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. I mean, while I'm there, I should drink it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, why not?
And I do. They're pouring it, so I'm like, well, thank you very much.
Hey, if it's there, it was there to be drank.
Yes.
So for me, I have been watching a lot of documentaries on Netflix lately. Okay. And there was one called Long Shot. Mm-hmm. And it is about a man in California who was... And I don't even want to tell you because it's...
Right, because then I'm going to watch it and be like, wait, Kent told me everything. Well, I don't need to see it.
The way it was introduced to me, it was just go type in Long Shot. Don't read the preview. Don't just type it in and press play and watch it and let it blow your mind. But I'll give you enough. It's about a guy, he's a gang member in California who is convicted of murdering someone who was a witness in a case for someone else that was in the gang, and he has an alibi, and that's all I'll say.
That sounds riveting.
Yeah, and it's a quick watch. I think it's only like 40 minutes long, but I sat there and watched it and was like, this is amazing. It's one of the few times where the justice system has worked.
Okay.
But it was a great 40 minutes. Okay. So Long Shot on Netflix is a documentary that has caught my eye recently. And I also watched Minimalism on Netflix. There's a guy I follow on YouTube and on Instagram, Matt Diavella, and he's a director, and he was the photographer and videographer for this movie, and it got me into minimalism. I was reading a lot about like cutting out certain things and getting rid of certain things in your life to have less weight and things to worry about. So I got really caught up in minimalism and found out about him and then watched the movie. So that was interesting as well. Took some things from it, not all of it. Some people go a little too far.
Is it about like you're minimalizing your life as a whole, or just like your home, your surroundings, that kind of thing?
It's varying degrees. So you have some people on there there was one guy who he now lives out of like his backpack. Like all of his things are in his backpack. No. And then there are other people who like went through something kind of terrible. Like it was a divorce, a death in the family, and it kind of sparked this moment in them to have a moment of rebirth, essentially. And they wanted to shed all of the things that they felt were weighing them down. And a lot of them were objects. So they did it and went on, and it centers around 2 guys who have written a book about minimalism and their story, and then the people that they've impacted because of it. But it was interesting. And like so some of the things, I've applied, but there were some things like, I ain't letting that go. Just
living out of a backpack?
Yeah.
I can barely get out of town for the weekend with a backpack. You want me to live out of this thing?
Yeah, I was like, man, hey, more power.
Right. Like, if you can do it, congratulations. That is not my gift to the world.
I'm getting better about it though, but there's some things I just can't. I am a hoarder by heart, so it's been a challenge.
And I'm a hoarder by nature because my parents were hoarders. And I like purposely will watch that TV show so I can be like, nope, can't let it get to this point. This is ridiculous. What saves me though is being here in Paris because places just aren't big. You can't keep stuff.
Oh, it's true.
So it's just impossible.
And you know what? You gave me the perfect segue to go into our discussion for the day. So you aren't from Paris.
I am not. You couldn't tell right. From my accent? What? I don't sound like I'm French?
Right. You are an expat.
Yes, I am an expat. I am a Chicagoan. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Born and raised. High school on the South Side. And then went to college in North Carolina. Then moved to D.C. after that. And then came to Paris. So
what brought you to Paris? Was it a trip? Was it... I'm moving to Paris? What was it?
Oh, I backing up a little am into wine, and so that is what I do. So I took several wine trips, and they kept coming to wine regions in France, and we'd stop in Paris. That would be like the layover. Then it'd be take a train here, or take a plane to Paris, and then you have a layover, then a plane somewhere else. And I just became fascinated with Paris. Like, I always had a good time. I always loved everything about it. So I was like, it would be really dope to live here. Like, why don't I do that? Like, how could I do that? And it was just a thought in my head. It went away because, I had family. I had a boyfriend at the time. I had, a home, cars, job, all of that. So it's like, okay, you're not just going to uproot your life to go to Paris. Well, fast forward a few years, all of those things went away. I still had the family, but my family was always going to be there. Mm-hmm. Those other things weren't there. And I got an offer to guest lecture at a business school here in Paris. So when that came up, I didn't even think it was real at first. I was like, okay, this is cute. I'll engage in this email. We'll see what happens. Talked for several months, and then it seemed like it was kind of going in the right direction. And I got accepted in this bartender camp, Portland Cocktail Week. And I did that, full scholarship. And so when I was there, I just had an epiphany and was like, Tanisha, put all your chips in, do whatever you got to do. You're going to Paris. So called my parents, told them what the plan was. They said, you're nuts.
As parents do.
Yes. But I was like, listen, so this is the deal. So went back from there, went back to D.C., packed up my place, moved my stuff to Chicago. And then I got to Chicago probably the week before Thanksgiving. This was in November 2013. The first week of December, I got the email from the school. And they're like, all right, we have everything figured out. Class starts in February. We'll see you then. So I took a chance on myself. And here we are.
Here you are. What,
yes.
4 or 5 years later?
Yeah, 4 years in October.
4 years in October.
Because I came in January and then did the guest lecturing. But I didn't come on any official paperwork. Mm-hmm. So I came just on my passport. So I had to go back to the States for 90 days, then apply for my visa, then wait to get it approved. So since I had that big of a gap, I just count that October when I came back as the official start time. Yeah.
So you were here before 45 became a thing for us in the States.
Because I voted for Hillary while I was here. Took my ballot to the embassy and said, make sure this gets to the right place. Thank you. They had a big stack that they mailed off.
And then it went to Russia. No,
probably. Or they were just like, whatever. It just is sitting somewhere. It kept them warm that winter. Whatever. Mm.
So when that happened, did you get calls from friends and family like, okay, so give us the deal on how to make the move? Or were people starting to have those conversations more with you?
They were. And it was funny because some people, I knew they were saying it kind of in jest. But then there were some other people, I was like, wait, you sound kind of serious. What? Are you that worried right away? Of course, no one has done that. Like, not even gone to Canada. Like, I don't even know anybody who's moved to Canada because of it. But, yeah, it was a lot of talk. I was amazed at how sad people were here.
Really?
Yeah, and not just Americans. Like, that, you know, later that day, some expats got together, and a couple of them were crying at the table. I was like, do we need to get you another beer? Like, ooh, just pull it together for just a moment. But, yeah, I mean, people were pretty devastated. But I had some French clients, and when I showed up, they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't think you were coming today. Have a seat. Let me get you some coffee. And I was like, what is going on? And they were like, we heard. We're so sorry. Do you need a moment? And I was like, oh, you talking about that? I mean, yeah, I feel a way, but, you know, once I'm with a client, I'm with the client. Right. I wasn't thinking about that. But no, they want to talk about it, have an at-length discussion. I'm like, all right, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I've told this story before. I was in South Africa the day of. So actually the night of the election, and then I say the day of, it was like the day after. Yeah. AD, after Donald. But AD. That day when I came back to the hotel, I was sitting at the bar, and the bartender would joke with everyone else that came up to the bar, like, let's all buy him a drink. He's going through some things right now. There's trouble at home.
Right. And people be like, what's the trouble?
Right. And they knew, because, I mean, it's the one thing you learn about being outside of the U.S. is that everybody knows and is well-versed about what's going on in your country, sometimes even better than you.
Yeah, that part, it embarrasses me sometimes when people know stuff. I'm like, okay, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, they are well aware. So they had a lot to say, and I did too. But most of it was, I don't know how it happened either. But yeah, it was a weird time. But I'm glad that I experienced it outside of the U.S. to get that perspective on it. And I watched coverage on BBC versus like a CNN or ESPN. So that was a very
that part is interesting to see coverage. Even when I would travel, before I lived abroad, even when I would travel, I would like watching the news abroad, because you get such a different perspective of everything. Mm-hmm. And I would hear some things, and like even now, I hear some things on whether it be France 24 or reading Le Monde, what I can translate. And I'm like, wow, this, because this is not the narrative that they're saying. This is kind of different. And okay, you get like a bigger picture of things, and not just this one very narrow view like you do in the States.
Yeah, no, I agree. Being that you are away from our drama right now.
And staying away from your drama.
Do you ever feel guilty about like not having to deal with it, knowing that your friends and family are dealing with it on a regular basis? Because I'll tell you, as someone who is in the States more right now, at least more often than not, it's a constant level of stress. So sometimes, and I've had talks with people who are living outside the country. It's like you almost feel guilty for being free or being away. There are some times when I'm gone for an extended period of time, I'm like, I don't have to think about that. And then I'll go on Twitter and see everything that's going on back home. I'm like, oh man, but I'm enjoying this freedom.
Right. You're like, whoo, all this freedom tastes great. Yeah, there is some guilt sometimes. But then also, I mean, everything isn't completely rainbows and, peachy keen and roses and all that stuff here either. So
yeah, well, that grass is greener kind of moment.
Yeah, I mean, this grass is definitely greener. I'm gonna say that this grass is definitely greener. But yeah, there's some feelings and things like that just because of what's going on in America as a whole. Mm-hmm. I used to feel a little guilty about even just leaving Chicago, because Chicago was always kind of violent. But it has gotten even more so now. And just being in D.C., I was away from a lot of the violence in Chicago. Mm-hmm. But then now that I live away, yeah, I have moments. And I'm going to feel guilty today. Thanks.
Sorry about that. So you told us that wine was really what brought you here.
Yes.
So the Girl Meets Glass officially began in Paris, or was it something that was in the works before you got here?
It was something that was in the works before I got here. In DC, it all started, I say in grad school, that drove me to drink. So we're taking it back a little bit. And so in my drinking in grad school in DC, I went to George Washington. There are a lot of wineries in Maryland and Virginia. Mm-hmm. So I would go to the wine festivals in Maryland and Virginia. And from there, I started, just kind of enjoying wine. And I talked to a winemaker at one of the Maryland festivals and just became completely fascinated with how he was making his explanations and, telling me about the flavor profile. And I was just trying to understand why this tasted like strawberries. And I was like, I get like strawberries and like fresh berry fruit. He was like, right. I was like, so you crush them in after, and then that's how you put the juice in with the grapes? He was like, no, it's just natural from the land. I was like, oh, you grow strawberries on the land, and then that's how the flavor gets into the wine. And I know he was looking at me like, oh my God, I don't even know how to talk to this woman. Somebody help me. She's clearly not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I was really trying to understand how those flavors got in. I was like, okay, he can't help me anymore. Let me go do some research. So I took a class, and that's when I took my first WSET Wine and Spirits Education Trust out of London. I took that class and got that certification, and then actually learned how flavors are really developed. And so that's how I know he was looking at me like I was crazy, because no, he doesn't crush strawberries into the wine and make it. That's just not how it works.
It's not? No.
No, it's not. So from there, I met a guy who did wine marketing. I started working in wine marketing with him, and I was pretty good at it. So then I started helping him with his training classes, started speaking at festivals, took more certifications. I was teaching a wine and spirits course at a college in Maryland. And then I sent a proposal to speak at a wine and tourism conference. It was in Croatia. From there is where I met the woman who later sent me the email proposing to move to Paris to guest lecture. So that's how that all came together. So Girl Meets Glass was born in those certification classes. It started as a blog. I was like, I just need to write down my tasting notes. But then it became private tastings and trainings of restaurant and hotel wait staff and things like that. So now it's a food and wine tour company, and it'll be a podcast in the fall, and then yeah, we're just gonna keep adding stuff under this umbrella.
Hey, well, if you have NMs, that means you're doing good things. So
I'd like to think so.
So you're one of few in your industry, and when I say one of few, you're one of few Black women in your industry. Mm-hmm. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you?
It depends. And I say it depends because on one hand, I stand out. Like, if you see one Black person at an event, you will remember that Black person. But on the other hand, sometimes people make assumptions about me being Black. I won't even, a woman too, mm-hmm. But about me being Black, and then why? They think I don't know as much, or I'm the help. Can you give me another spit bucket? I don't work here. I'm here for the tasting. If you could pour me some of your Cabernet, that would be fantastic. Or I've had people, I've walked up to tables and was about to request a sample. Oh, we don't have anything sweet at this table. I didn't ask you for anything sweet, but okay. Thank you for that bit of information. I'd actually like to taste your Syrah or your Tempranillo or, whatever. So that can be the other side of it. So, now, I will say coming here, it's been completely different because I'm American.
So you have that different...
So as soon as I start speaking, even if I start speaking in French, they know I'm American. And I am literally like the only Black person. I have seen myself in photographs, in promotional videos. I've seen people run over to me to take pictures and like talk to me to say something so then I can be on their video so they can show, hey, look. Yeah.
La diversité.
Yeah. Yes. And so, I mean, sometimes I consider that good, but then it can also be lonely.
Yeah. I would think it at some point it could be draining.
Yes.
Not to use liquid references, but it. Yeah, to walk into a room and know that I got to deal with this again, or to hope like, man, I want somebody else to get some letters behind their name and come join me. And
I mean, like just one other person, but it's hard because there's the language, there's the way people act and the way people treat you. People like to say, "Oh, there's no racism there. We're not racist." You know this. That's not completely true.
Right.
But I do have privilege as an American. So as soon as I start speaking, they know I'm American. So, oh no, she's okay. And then she can be our in to like the American market. So let's see who she knows. And let's, try to talk to her. So there's that. It's always something. You just got to make do with whatever you have. So I'm here. We're making it work.
So you brought up the notion or the idea that Black people only drink a certain thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our people and their relationship with wine. Do you think we tend to lean a certain way when it comes to wine preferences?
We do lean a certain way, and we lean towards sweet wines. But wine isn't something that we necessarily grew up with. Mm-hmm. We didn't see our parents drinking wine or their parents drinking wine. Our parents drank cognac. Right. Our parents drank Crown Royal. Like everybody had a purple bag with the gold stitching that you carry your change in, or your marbles, or your jacks, or whatever.
My mom used to carry her camera in the Crown Royal bag. I think she still does.
I mean, whatever you needed it for, it was there for you. So our parents and grandparents drank that. I think we are now starting to drink wine. But since we drink, if you think about what we actually drink in our lives, our drinks are just naturally sweeter. Mm-hmm. We drink a lot of pop. We drink fruit juices, which American fruit juices have a bunch of sugar. Right. We drink the sweetest Kool-Aid ever. You make red Kool-Aid with all of the sugar. So since we drink sweeter things just in general, of course, when we start drinking wine, we are going to lean toward sweet wine. You can, however, change that and move into some other things. But you have to actually want to and make an effort and try.
Yeah. I think, well, I won't generalize, but my first encounter with wine was a red wine. And I'm like, ugh. But that was because I had an unsophisticated palate. This is like, at 21, you drinking everything. Listen. So it was probably some
the fact that you were drinking actual wine, because my first wine was Country Quencher, Boone's Farm. I mean, I have no problem. I have no shame in that. I started from humble beginnings, and Boone's Farm was it. I'm like, this isn't even the color of actual wine. Country Quencher is like a weird greenish color. So that's where I started. And it's super sweet. But then, so is Arbor Mist, which a lot of people drink. Right. If you think about White Zinfandel, which a lot of people drink, White Zinfandel is sweet. Moscato is sweet.
Yeah, we love some Moscato.
I mean, to the point where y'all have changed. Y'all.
Don't wait a minute. Don't get too high into Diddy.
I know. That's why I'm like, let me bring it back down to the point where we have changed the dynamic of what certain producers make and what they grow. There are some producers who have ripped up vines of other things to plant more Moscato.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we have changed the game with that. I mean, they saw what we did with cognac. Right. And rose sales like 200%. So. They were like, yeah, let's see what happens with this Moscato. And yeah, we indeed have made Moscato sales rise.
But I mean, I know, at least for me, age was what started to shift my idea of what wine could be. Mm-hmm. And help me break out of that shell. But I have friends who, like, they found their one thing, they found their white Zin, and that's it. They found that one Merlot that works for them, and that's it. How do we break people out of like their wine shells and get them to a space where they realize that, maybe I do like sweet, or maybe I just haven't found the right red, or how do we break our people out of the Moscato shell?
You just have to offer it to them. Like, that's what I've noticed, because you can make all the suggestions you want. Just like with spirits, if somebody is like, I drink Grey Goose, they are just going to buy Grey Goose. You cannot sell them on Absolute. You can't sell them on Ciroc. You can't sell them on Stoli. They're going to get Grey Goose. And if you don't have it, they're going to another shop. So when it comes to wine, you just have to pour it for them and give it to them. People tell me all the time, oh, I don't drink this. Oh, I don't drink that. I still pour them what I have.
and
they give it to them. So many people say, you remember this from the tasting we did the other day. People usually don't like Chardonnay. Or they think they don't like Chardonnay. First one I served was a Chardonnay. People's minds were blown. They were like, oh, this is Chardonnay? It's not heavy or buttery or oaky. All Chardonnays aren't like that. But the thing is, when you are trying something, like say people said they don't like Chardonnay. You can't, if you are trying different Chardonnays, but still from the same place, you aren't tasting anything different. Mm-hmm. So you need to get out of the comfort zone of, okay, I'm drinking, like say with Moscato. Even if you just move from drinking your Barefoot, your other like California Moscatos and drink an Italian one, the originator of the Moscato, and do a Moscato d'Asti, the sparkling one. You still have that same flavor, but then you're moving into something slightly more refined, I'll say. And that is a way for you to kind of start moving out of your comfort zone. Drink the same grade, but from another place.
Yeah, because I know I definitely didn't think about, Chardonnay from here may taste different from Chardonnay from there. But then as I got, my big boy drawers on and started going to places and learning about like how things are harvested or how long things are in a certain environment, how it can change the taste. Then I started to like, oh, okay, you know what? Every Chardonnay isn't the same. I'm not going off of how much it costs. It may be that it's a completely different taste altogether. Yeah.
And I stand for French Chardonnay. Like, we'll scream it from the rooftops. When people say they don't like Chardonnay, I'm like, please try the French one, try the French one. Like, if you actually like wine, try the French style.
You talked about flavor profiles. How do you help people find out what their flavor profile is? Because some people are like, oh, I like sweet, but that could mean so many different things to you as someone who's certified in this. So how do you help people kind of identifying like what their taste line is and what places they could go with that as far as options? Well,
usually this is a conversation I'm having while we're at a tasting. So while I'm working with them, whether it's giving them a tour or doing, a tasting for them. And just based on the flavors that they pull out of what they're tasting, anything you kind of recognize, that is something that you are familiar with. So if you can pull out the berry flavors or the different citruses or stone fruit, things like that, these are things that you are familiar with. So I'll think of other grapes, other regions where you can get something like that from. I also tell people to get to know their wine merchant. Like, get a wine merchant and get to know them. Going to the grocery store and, getting your steak and your potatoes and your chicken breast and then going to the wine aisle, that's cool. But if you really want to start expanding your palate, get a wine shop. Like, I know there is a wine shop close to just about everyone. Yeah. And also, wine shops do free tastings.
And in Atlanta, there is a Black-owned wine shop. Shout out to the Purple Corkscrew.
Purple Corkscrew!
Yes. And
I know them from social media.
Really?
Yeah.
I love them. I've hosted events there before. I did a tasting there before. And they put me on to some wines I had never even thought of tasting. Just because I was able to identify, like, oh, I like this or I like this part of that kind of thing. So is there... For someone who's trying to figure out their palate, is there like a site where they could taste it and be like, oh, okay, I pull out wood, I pull out, cherry, I pull out strawberries, and they give them suggestions, or do they need to come straight to somebody like you?
They just need to come straight to me. They just need to come straight to me.
Book that flight to Perrin and
right,
and get certified under Tanisha.
They could just email me. It's fine. But I take questions like that. But no, that's also why it's good to go to your wine merchant at a wine shop, because that person will know their inventory. Mm-hmm. And then you can just say, I like this, this, and this. What do you have? And then they can point out like, oh, well, we have this Bordeaux from France, or we have this Cabernet from Chile that I think, you know, you really enjoy. Also, when you go to a wine merchant, you will kind of move away from some of those big box brands. And those are fine if that's what you're into, you know, and you're having that as your house wine. But if you really want to get into wine and really want to start understanding flavor profiles, drink the grape from where it's from. Like Syrah is originated in Australia. You have your Cabernet, which came from Bordeaux, your Pinot Noir from the Burgundy region of France. Start there. And get smaller producers because they make it with a little more time and care and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Your larger producers, your Barefoot, your Yellowtail, they make those to taste the same. They're making them in such large quantities, they make them to taste the same. So when people say, oh, it's not much different between these $10 wines. No, it's not. But if you get that 15, that 20, then you will really start to see, oh, wow, this is different. And you can compare it that way. Right. But, yeah.
And then are there wines that are even in those lower price points that may come from your smaller
Absolutely.
places?
Yeah, there's certain reasons. It's not going to be French ones because just them shipping it over, you got to pay for that. But if you are looking to try something new at a lower price point, you know what? You can from France, from the Languedoc region, Languedoc-Roussillon. Specifically, like, say, a Minervois or Corbière. You can probably get that for 15 or less. Wines from Chile, wines from Portugal. You can get those. Sometimes you can find those under 10.
Is there any winery in the States that you think is has a good taste profile or produces really good wines?
Oh God, a few. Yeah. Yes, several. Of course, I would shout out Maryland and Virginia wineries, even though some people say, oh, what? They're good. Yeah, they have some amazing wines. Old Westminster and Black Ankle out of Maryland are fantastic. Williamsburg Winery, Bro Vineyards. Oh, what's the other one out of Virginia? Both of those are out of Virginia. It's another one that I'll think of as soon as we wrap up the episode. Just message me. We'll talk more about Virginia wines. But those are amazing. Then, you know, you have Oregon and Washington State that make wine. We know California makes wine, so I don't have to mention that and go through that whole state. But yeah, and then New York. If you just have to have your sweet wines, the Finger Lakes in New York, you can get some of your sweeter style wines from there. And let me preface, I say sweet. When you are talking to someone about sweet, be a little more specific with the kind of sweet you mean. Do you mean ripe peach sweet? Or do you mean cotton candy sweet? Those are two different kind of things, and you'll get two different kind of wines.
So don't be afraid to describe in detail what you like.
Use your words.
Good to know.
Use your words.
Okay, so you know the rules of wine in and out. Let's break some of the ideas around rules, because I think we've all been told certain things, and then there's the truth. So, because one of these things you taught me this weekend about how long wine lasts. Okay. So, how long does wine last, and the different types, and what's the way to preserve it for as long as you can?
So the way to preserve it is to drink it. It's the way to preserve it.
Because I've always been told that like it's got red wine has a day, maybe two, and white has like less than that. But you told me opposite. No,
put it in the for starters. Put both of them in the refrigerator once you've opened them.
Okay.
White wine could do 2 to 3 days. Red wine a little bit longer.
Okay. Oh, so red wine actually.
Red wine actually is a little bit longer. Yeah, because just think, red wine can actually age in the world. You know, if you don't open it. So even if you open it, a little air has gotten in it. Air makes red wine better because you aerate red wine. Right, so that's why it can last a little longer. The air hasn't completely damaged that as opposed to white wine. Yeah. Still, try not to keep it that long. But and there are tools that you can use. There's this gas that you can buy at a wine shop. And you spray it in and then put the cork back on it. And that makes it last a little longer. Yeah, that'll preserve it. You might get a week. Or the different tops that you can put on, and then you pump the air out. Mm-hmm. And then that makes it last longer because you've taken the air out, because the air is what damages it.
Right. And even after you put it in the refrigerator, if it's red, you want to bring it back to its temperature before you drink it, right? You're not drinking it cold after you've opened it.
No, not as cold as the refrigerator, no.
Okay.
And even, good point, and I'm going to come back to the pulling the white wine out, but most people drink red wine too warm anyway.
Really?
Room temperature is from back in the day from the cellar. You know, just think your basement is colder than the rest of your house.
That's true.
So room temperature was cellar temperature. So they all should have a slight chill. Like, there is temperatures and formulas and methods and all that. I just usually put my reds in the refrigerator 20 minutes before I want to drink it.
Ah, okay.
And my white wines, if I already had them in the refrigerator, I take them out for 20 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm definitely applying that rule.
Yes.
I didn't know that either.
And then see what you think. Let me know. You might be like, this Tanisha, I got to throw this whole podcast away, but she has no idea what she's talking about.
Okay, so another quote unquote rule that isn't necessarily true is that all white wines are sweet and all red wines are not. That's not true.
False. Do we have sound effects for this? So we can just do that Family Feud X. We need that sound effect. We need that buzzer. No, that's not true at all. There are dry whites, and then there are sweet reds. Lambrusco from out of Italy can be a sweeter red. Mm-hmm. Gamay, depending on the type of sweetness you are thinking, Gamay is from the Beaujolais region of France, is a very rich, bright, red fruit, juicy red wine. And yeah, you have dry Rieslings. People think all Rieslings are sweet. Get a Riesling from Australia, from like Clare Valley. It is going to be definitely on the drier side. And if you blind taste it, you wouldn't think it was Riesling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another rule. Give me a true or false. If I'm ordering chicken or fish, I got to do white. If I'm ordering beef or lamb or any kind of red meat, I got to do red.
I mean, that works if you want to just stick with something safe. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's easy. But the rule is you either want to completely compare the flavors or do like slightly contrasting, like how sweet and salty or sweet and sour go together. You want to kind of pair your wine and your food like that. So when thinking about, like, yes, white wine goes with chicken, but think about how the chicken prepared. Is the chicken fried? Is it like a lemon sauce? Is it a creamy sauce? Is it a tomato-based sauce? Is it like orange chicken? That is going to change the flavor and then change the wines you'll drink.
And what kind of white, if you do go white, what kind of white you should drink based off of the sweetness or...
Well, with the fried chicken, it's always champagne or sparkling wine because it's just that the saltiness of fried chicken and just that crispiness of the skin that goes so well with the acid and the bubbles of sparkling wine.
What about hot sauce on the chicken? Does that change your wine choice at all?
Hot sauce definitely changes it because you want something with not high acid, but you want something that's crisp with some citrus to kind of tone down a little bit that acid.
Okay, so if I went in the Harold's and I got
they actually have a YouTube video on what wine goes with mild sauce.
and let us know. Spoil it for us. What wine goes with mild sauce?
And it's funny. I actually did a sparkling wine and fried chicken tasting when I was home in Chicago for Christmas. And everybody liked the champagne. I did champagne. I did a cava. I did a crémant, which is sparkling wine from France, but not champagne. Mm-hmm. I did a prosecco. They liked the champagne.
Okay. One more question, and then I'm going to let you go.
Sure.
What's the best champagne for mimosas?
So...
Does that also depend on what we're eating at brunch?
No, not at all. Here's the thing. I won't say a best champagne, but don't use your best champagne. Good champagne is good. Don't mix it with orange juice. That actually kills me when people do that. Yeah, don't do that.
So you can go cheap on the champagne.
Yeah, because you're putting juice in it. So that's going to completely alter the flavor. Mm-hmm. But champagne is so elegant and has so much finesse. Now I'm talking like one of those wine people swirling with my, nose in the air. But no, seriously, when you spend, a nice amount of money on nice champagne, don't Yeah, don't do orange juice. That's what you do your little lower end ones. Don't take your, we got Moet. Get some orange juice. No, Moet is still on the upper level. Don't. Mm-mm.
So
definitely if you have like a grower champagne or like a small producer champagne. Mm-mm.
So is it? So cheaper is better in this case.
But when you're mixing stuff with juice, it is like, and people like bartenders would tell you this when they're making you a cocktail with liquor. They won't use higher end liquors when they're mixing in a lot of juices. If they're mixing in other liquor, then they'll use high end because you can still taste the flavor of the high end liquor. But when you start mixing juices in, you can't taste the nuances or the differences.
So I was wasting money getting good liquor mixed with cranberry juice, thinking I was doing something.
Well, I mean, and cranberry juice is kind of strong, so. I mean, do an experiment yourself. Take some high-end, vodka or whatever you're mixing with your cranberry juice, and then do a low-end one, and see if you can really taste the difference.
I did not know that. Here I'm thinking, no, I need top shelf everything.
No, I know some people probably gonna come for me after this, but that's fine. We can get into it.
Okay, so don't put your best champagne in your mimosa.
No. Which
way should they go on the champagne scale? Should they go dry, sweet?
Now, that depends on personal preference.
Okay.
Because there are sweetness levels. Mostly what you'll see is extra dry, brut, and demi-sec. Brut is actually drier than extra dry. People think extra dry, so that's dry. No, brut is actually drier.
And see, I would think that since they indicated that it was extra dry, that it was a whole new level.
Remember, this is the French. That means nothing to them. They make up rules as they go along. But if you like it on the sweeter side, like with wedding cake, use a demi-sec, because that way you'll have the sugar that matches the sugar in the cake and the icing and that fondant on the top. When they do the brut, I'm always like, ooh, this is brutal. Because it's super dry, and then you have this super sweet cake, and it's not as much a match made in heaven as it could be.
Yeah. Well, Tanisha, thank you for giving us a mini lesson and helping us do the important work, like what champagnes or wines go with hot sauce on fried chicken, because these are the things that keep me up at night. Yes. And I'm glad that we got to address that today.
Yeah, because wine goes with real food. Don't think wine has to be like this super fancy meal. It's like wine that goes with your Chinese takeout, your Indian takeout, your pizza. Yeah.
There's another wine merchant in Atlanta, and the name is Perrin, I think.
Okay.
But there's a pizza shop, Antico, which has fantastic pizza. But you go get your wine from there, and you let them know what pizza you're getting, and they'll give you options for whatever that pizza is. So I always go there, because you can bring your own bottle to the pizza spot and get the wine and go with it, and it makes a difference versus what I would have gone in there and picked on my own.
Yep.
So, stop hitting up Kroger or Publix or Safeway.
Stop hitting them up all the time.
Right.
Don't let that be the only place you go.
And don't feel like White Zinfandel is your choice for life. You have options.
So many. There are like 1,000 grapes. Yeah. Drink another one.
Tanisha, tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on next.
Okay, you can find me at girlmeetsglass.com and Girl Meets Glass on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. What do I have going on next? I have a few day trips to Champaign coming up, and I'll be in the States next month. I'm speaking at BevCon, which is a beverage conference in LA, and I'll be talking about hip-hop's influence on the world of wine and spirits.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
That's another podcast episode.
And if you are ever in Paris or coming to Paris or know someone who's coming to Paris, you definitely want to connect with Tanisha on her site and book one of her amazing experiences. Everything from personal tastings to experiences out in wine and champagne country, right?
Yeah, we go out to Champagne, we go to some vineyards, we do some tasting at some champagne houses. In the city in Paris, we go to some different wine bars and we do some tastings there. I'm really into gin, and if you are too, we can hit up some gin and tonic places.
And if you bought it, She could take you to Cognac too. You can go to Cognac.
We can go to Cognac.
And expand your Hennessy horizons.
Right, yeah. Because have you seen Hennessy since you've been here? Have you seen Hennessy in the shop?
I have not. And there's a reason why.
95%, I think it's like 90 to 95% of cognac is exported from France. They don't drink it here.
And y'all thought y'all was doing something with white Henny when you go to the islands.
That's a whole other thing, yeah.
So we'll have a whole nother episode on what Henny goes with. and what other cognacs go with hot sauce on chicken, because that is another thing that keeps me up at night.
I look forward to that.
Tanisha, thank you for coming on and blessing us with your knowledge.
Thank you.
And telling us a little bit about what brought you from Chi-Town to Perrin. Of course, you guys can follow the podcast at Ungentrified Pod on both Instagram and Twitter, and at the website, ungentrifiedpodcast.com. Thank you again for listening. If you like what you heard today, do me a favor, tell a friend, rate your listening experience on iTunes or Google or Spotify, and subscribe. That also helps immensely. Thanks again for listening, and we'll check you next time. Peace out.